Within Hunter x Hunter Volume 3, there's a small sketch that a lot of people will have missed. Togashi drew a small figure with a blank face and hollow eyes. Alongside this image, we see a line that reads, "I am from the Dark Continent, I." This is none other than Nanika, the thing that lives within Alucard's Zoldyck. This is most likely one of the 5 great calamities. These are entities capable of wiping out the human race. So it's surprising that nobody even noticed that one of these calamities could be living inside of the Zoldyck family mansion for years. Now this is the incredible thing about the world building of Hunter x Hunter. If one calamity snuck into the known world and embedded itself within a child, what if the others have also done the same? What if the Dark Continent is already here amongst the known world? Within this video, I want to go over the major Dark Continent theories. We'll be going over everything that we know about the Dark Continent, which has been revealed within the manga, and how all of the different theories about the Dark Continent tie together seamlessly, with Togashi recently confirming that chapters 411 through to 420 have been delivered and chapter 430's inking is done. And we got a January 2026 sketch showing Kurapika flipping the middle finger alongside a hint that Changeal is about to reactivate against a Phantom Troop member. We are literally on the doorstep of the return of the Hunter x Hunter manga. So before we get some new chapters of Hunter x Hunter, let's dive into everything that we know about the Dark Continent and the major theories surrounding it. In chapter 342, the world map that we've been looking at for hundreds of chapters, with the continents, the oceans, York New City, Greed Island, the Republic of Podekia, all of it sits inside of a single lake. This is Lake Mobius, a body of water located at the center of a landmass that's so incomprehensibly vast that the continents that humanity lives on are functionally just a cluster of islands. The true surface of the planet is in fact the Dark Continent, and humanity is literally just a speck that exists in the middle of it. The V5, the 5 most powerful nations in the known world, have known about this for centuries. They signed a treaty roughly 200 years ago banning any further expeditions beyond Lake Mobius after humanity's track record proved to be catastrophic. Out of 149 documented attempts to explore the Dark Continent, only 5 voyages returned with survivors. 28 people in total walked on Dark Continent soil and made it back. Only 3 of them went on to live anything that resembles a normal life. So this is a 0.04% success rate for functional survival, and every single returning voyage brought something back with it. This wasn't treasure or knowledge, it was a punishment. Reaching the Dark Continent is quite a task, as there's the Gatekeeper, a race of magical beasts that control the only navigatable route. They will summon a guide in order to escort you across. The guide doesn't work for free, the toll is extracted on the return trip. Every expedition that survives pays by carrying a calamity back into the human realm. 5 voyages returned, and so 5 calamities were unleashed, and these 5 are just the ones that we know about. Isaac Netero made at least 2 undocumented trips. Don Freaks went over 300 years ago and seemingly never came back. If the guide extracts payment for every crossing, there could be calamities in the known world that nobody has even catalogued. A lot of people treat the 5 calamities like a power ranking. There are 2 areas that measure the threat classification of a calamity. First, there's Gin's personal evaluation and the Hunter Association's official ratings under Cheeto, and the ratings measure unpredictability and neutralization difficulty, not raw destructive force. Chimera ants got downgraded specifically because they can coexist with humans. The creatures rated above them earn those rankings because we have almost no idea how to counter them. Cheeto's chart explicitly notes that an A rating means we don't know how it reproduces or how to neutralize it. Now keep this distinction in mind. Brion is the botanical weapon. It's a sphere-headed humanoid plant guarding a labyrinth city roughly 400 kilometers into the forest north of Lake Mobius. The United States of Sahara had sent an elite force to retrieve the herb for all illnesses, a plant that's capable of curing an estimated 10,000 diseases. 2 people survived, and we don't know how Brion kills. We don't know if it's intelligent, and we don't even know if the sphere is its head or if it's a weapon. What we do know is that it guards ruins, a labyrinth city, which means humans built structures on the Dark Continent at some point. Someone had lived there and they don't anymore. The specific word Togashi uses is botanical weapon. This implies that engineering had taken place. Something deployed Brion in order to guard that city. The question of who built it and why hasn't been answered within the story. I is the gaseous life form that's described as the codependence of desire. The Mimbo Republic and the Hunter Association sent a joint expedition south-southwest of Lake Mobius seeking the Trinity Elixir, a mother solution that has transmutative properties. 3 people returned from this expedition. All of them went insane. I is confirmed to already have victims inside the known world, and its kill signature is distinctive as bodies are twisted and wrung into spirals. If you recall, I mentioned Nanika earlier. Nanika's failed wish victims die in exactly the same way as Ai's victims. They're crushed into unrecognizable spiraling shapes. In Japanese, Nanika's habitual way of saying yes is Ai, written and pronounced identically to the calamity's name. The Viz translation renders it as K, which strips the double meaning entirely. He then drew that sketch within volume 33, which solidifies that Nanika is in fact Ai, which originates from the Dark Continent. Zoldyck accompanied Isaac Netero and Linné hors d'oeuvre on one of Netero's undocumented Dark Continent expeditions. This all happened off the books without any V5 sanction. The guy doesn't care about paperwork as the toll was still collected. The strongest reading is that Ai attached itself to Zig during the return voyage and eventually manifested within Aluka, the one family member whose emotional bonds could sustain it. Ai feeds on codependence of desire. It needs an intense mutual emotional relationship in order to anchor itself to. Killua's unconditional love for Aluka is the fuel source. Now, if this is true, then it makes Nanika the living toll for Isaac Netero's youthful ambition. The chairman spent his prime exploring the unknown, and the price was paid by someone else's grandchild decades later. Under this framework, Beyond Netero watched his father's generation play God with the Dark Continent and saw the consequences land on innocent families. Hellbell is the twin snake, the one that infects its prey with homicidal desire. The Federation of Ochima sent a force of roughly 1,000 soldiers southeast of Lake Mobius in order to retreat nitro rice, a longevity grain. Only 11 returned alive in this expedition. Gin rated Hellbell B+, the lowest of the 5 calamities. Cheadle's team bumped it up to A. The discrepancy is interesting as Gin seemed to think that Hellbell was manageable, but the Hunter Association disagreed upon further analysis. Pap is the human-keeping beast, and its title is the trade-off between life and pleasure. The Begarose Union sent 1,000 soldiers northeast of Lake Mobius to find unmanned rock, a mineral that generates roughly 20,000 kilowatts per pebble. This is essentially unlimited energy. 7 survived this expedition as Pap uses cable-like biological feelers to keep humans alive in a vegetative state, as their aura is drained while they experience something. This is presumed to be pleasure, as it keeps people as livestock, which only makes evolutionary sense if Pap's habitat once had a steady human population to feed on. Pap victims are confirmed to exist in the known world alongside Ai victims. Gin tells his team point blank that it's a miracle humanity hasn't been wiped out yet. Nobody knows where Pap or its victims currently are. Zobae is the immortality disease, described as endless despair disguised as hope. The Kukanyu kingdom, led by Beyond Netero himself, had sought Metallion, an alchemy plant. So their expedition took them southeast of Lake Mobius. Most of the travelers died from the disease. 6 survived, including Beyond. One nameless hunter contracted Zobae fully, as they became immortal, and they currently sit in the IPA basement, alive, catatonic, eating their own regenerating flesh in an endless cycle. With Zobae, your body heals, but your mind rots. You spend eternity consuming yourself in a loop that never ends and never changes. Beyond was on that expedition expedition roughly 50 years ago, and he came back looking decades younger than the math says that he should. We don't know if Beyond has a variant of Zobae that he is carrying, as Togashi hasn't confirmed it, but his physical appearance at his implied age raises a lot of questions that nobody within the manga has really questioned him on. So here we know that 5 sovereign nations each sponsored a venture independently into the Dark Continent. Saherata wanted the medical miracle, Mimbo wanted the alchemical mother solution, Ochima wanted the longevity grain, Begarose wanted unlimited energy, Kukanyu wanted the plant that could transmute any substance. These 5 expeditions failed so spectacularly that the surviving V5 members agreed to seal the Dark Continent away forever. The first theory that we'll be discussing is very controversial, and it's to do with Gon, the protagonist of the series from Whale Island. Calling him a calamity feels wrong, but Togashi has a track record of putting his characters through psychological devastation. When Gon sacrificed his Nen potential and lifespan in order to achieve the power needed to kill Neferpito, the result was adult Gon, a towering figure with long tubular hair structures that Japanese fans have pointed out bears a striking resemblance to Pap's biological cable feelers. Also, the predatory-like eye glow that Gon has matches Pap too. After the transformation burned out, Gon's body became withered and shrunken. He was literally a husk of his former self that was kept alive in a vegetative state while Killua desperately sought a cure. This mirrors the described condition of Pap's victims, who are kept alive with all aura drained. Pap's operating principle is the trade-off between life and pleasure. Gon's transformation is Nen limitation theory. He traded every ounce of future life and potential for a single moment of overwhelming pleasure-coded revenge. He exchanged his life for pleasure, the exact contract that Pap enforces on its victims, except Gon did it to himself voluntarily. Now, I don't think Gon is literally possessed by Pap, as nothing infected him, but the visual and thematic parallels suggest something a bit more unsettling, that humans can self-inflict calamity-grade Nen contracts through pure emotional extremity. Dark Continent's horrors may not be alien invasions at all, as they could be visible forms of Nen taken to its absolute maximum. A 12-year-old replicated a calamity through grief. The Freak's bloodline also has a pattern that makes this feel less like a coincidence. Don Freaks ventured to the Dark Continent over 300 years ago and wrote Journey to the New World in 2 volumes. The East edition made it back, while the West edition didn't. There are 3 theories for why. It was lost, it was never written, or Don is still out there writing it, thus implying that he's been alive for 3 centuries. Gin is the only character who openly entertains the third option, and when he says it, the panel shows a smiling figure who could plausibly be Don Freaks himself. Don didn't come home. Gin left Gon on Whale Island. Gon and Killua parted ways at the World Tree, Killua choosing to travel with Aluka, Gon returning to a home life that feels temporary in every scene that it appears in. Every Freak's male drifts towards the edge of the known world. If Don's journey triggered a guide-level punishment, a curse propagating through the bloodline, then Gon's impossible transformation might be hereditary debt that manifests through Nen in the descendant who pushed hardest against the boundary between human and something else. Togashi revealed that he had a contingency ending for Hunter x Hunter, and it's one that he'd use if his health prevented him from finishing the manga. It features Gon's granddaughter, Jin, refusing to become a hunter. She catches the Lake Lord on Whale Island, turns down the call to adventure, and stays home. The first Freaks in 300 years to break the cycle. This feels like a deliberate thematic resolution to a multi-generational curse. This now brings us to the Kura clan, who lived in complete isolation in the forests of Luxo province. Outsiders called them Devil's Messengers and Red-Eyed Freaks, the same feel for language that the known world uses for Dark Continent magical beasts. They rode picos, running birds with feathered bodies and elongated beaks tamed exclusively by the Kura clan. When Togashi drew the Dark Continent map, he included bird creatures nearly identical to picos scattered across across the landscape. In chapter 317, the color page shows Kurapika mounted on what is essentially a dark continent bird. Kurata architectural symbols are seen with the swirl motifs carved into their huts and woven into their clothing. This mirrors the infinity loop geometry of Lake Mobius itself, and these same motifs appear on the carvings around the gatekeeper's gate. The infinity loop embroidered onto Kurapika's robe hem matches the Mobius shape of the lake that separates humanity from its ancestral homeland. The scarlet eyes themselves behave less like a generic trait and more like a biological threat response. When Kurata emotions spike, their irises flood red and their cognitive profile shifts, as they become more aggressive as rational control decreases. In Kurapika's case, this emotional state triggers a full Nen category shift to specialist. This is something that shouldn't be possible under normal Nen theory. A Nen category shift activated by emotional extremity, granting abilities that operate outside of the normal system. This sounds like a survival adaptation that's been forged in proximity to something dangerous. The Kurta clan eyes parallel the calamity known as the Hellbell, whose signature ability is infecting prey with homicidal desire, heightened aggression, compromised rationality, and an overriding compulsion towards violence. If the Kurta clan are descended from a population that once lived on the Dark Continent, and the visual evidence across multiple volumes points firmly in that direction, then these Scarlet Eyes might be an adaptation of Hellbell, a biological defense mechanism that their ancestors developed through prolonged exposure to the Twin Snake's influence, carried into Lake Mobius when those ancestors migrated to the known world. The eyes activate as a survival response because that's what they were originally for, surviving in proximity to something that rewires every organism around it into a killer. So this makes you rethink the Kurta clan massacre. Suraidnik didn't just collect pretty eyeballs, he's sitting on a pile of Dark Continent biological material without knowing it, and Suraidnik himself is a terrifying variable on the Black Whale. This is a man who picked up Nen at a speed that left even normal practitioners stunned. His guardian spirit beast takes the form of a horsewoman with a second woman's head held inside its mouth. Some fans argue that second head is a separate entity entirely, which opens up the possibility that Pyro's preserved head could be incorporated into a future version of the spirit beast. If this is true, Kurapika's final confrontation with the fourth prince won't just be against Suraidnik, it would be against his childhood best friend's remains that have been reanimated and corrupted by Nen. In Hunter x Hunter Volume 33, we see Kurapika speaking to Pyro's eyes. And then later, we see Suraidnik's full collection, including a child's head with Pyro's haircut. Then we have Brion Netero, who broadcasted his intention to return to the Dark Continent, which had over 100 million views within an hour. He voluntarily surrendered to the Hunter Association, sat in a cell on Tier 1 of the Black Whale, and asked for a pen and paper to write a novel. Every beat of Brion Netero's plan over the past 30 years has been calibrated to look like compliance while he's been building an infrastructure for control. Chapter 401 blows the lid off of his plan. Longi, one of the Kakin prince's bodyguards, reveals she's Beyond's biological daughter. 30 years ago, Beyond persuaded young Kakin military officers into sham marriages. He fathered children through these unions and enrolled them in the Royal Military Academy and positioned them as personal guards to the 14 princes. These children have had their Nen abilities active since birth. They've been sleeper agents their entire lives, and Brion Netero layered a secondary function on top. Post-mortem Nen curses that are marked under their tongues which activate as curse sacrifices upon death. Longi doesn't know which prince each curse targets, but the math lines up as there's more than 10 curse sacrifices for 14 princes. Brion Netero has rigged the succession contest so that whichever prince survives is already under his influence, either biologically his child or surrounded by gods carrying his curses. The V5, which is now the V6 after absorbing Kakin as a member nation, think that they're managing the situation. Their plan is to hand Kakin a cluster of islands on the outskirts of Lake Mobius and pass them off as the Dark Continent, a patronizing consolation prize for a nation that they consider junior partners. Brion Netero is letting them believe this works because their complacency decency is his cover. From his cell, he tells Mozystom his true goal lies beyond whatever happens in the next 2 months. While balancing on a chair, he says that he'll behave and wait. Then there's the autonomous Pariston. Seiyu, the Zodiac codenamed Monkey, is Pariston's mole inside the Zodiacs. He's working towards Beyond's ultimate goal, but without Beyond's direct knowledge. When Mozystom confronts Beyond about a spy in the Zodiacs, Beyond genuinely denies knowing about one, and Kurapika's dowsing chain confirms he's telling the truth. Pariston planted Seiyu and runs him independently. Beyond leaves Pariston to conduct business on his own, always working toward the same goal but through his own methods. Seiyu's Nen ability, 3 Monkeys, lets him strip a target of vision, hearing, or speech. He's positioned to break Beyond out when the Black Whale approaches the new continent. Kurapika and Mozystom have figured out Seiyu is compromised and they plan to capture him before landing, but Pariston has multiple contingency plans in place. The former vice chairman of the Hunter Association, Pariston, is the man that Gin Freaks accuses of secretly diverting a fleet of association airships to East Gotu, where Netero detonated the miniature Rose. Those airships recovered approximately 5,000 Nen-capable Chimera ant cocoons. This is pretty much a private army of Nen users derived from the single most dangerous species that the known world has ever encountered. They've been stashed away by Pariston, who Gin believes is motivated to destroy the things that he loves out of boredom. Gin joined the expedition team specifically to keep Pariston in check and not out of loyalty to Beyond Netero. Another popular Dark Continent fan theory is about the Chimera Ant Queen, the queen that washed ashore on NGL's coast and spawned the entire Chimera Ant arc. Gin confirms that she wasn't native to the known world. She came from outside. Someone or something deposited a Dark Continent organism in the most vulnerable, least defended nation on the map. If Pariston and Beyond Netero engineered this event by injuring a Dark Continent origin queen and dropping her off on NGL to force Isaac Netero into a confrontation that would either kill him or politically neutralize him, then the Chimera Ant arc wasn't a random catastrophe. It was an assassination disguised as a natural disaster. Netero's death freed Beyond from the one person keeping him contained. Togashi hasn't confirmed this, but the timeline does match as well as the motive, and Beyond Netero's track record proves he operates on exactly this kind of timescale. Beyond Netero shares parallels with Shoko Asahara, the founder of the Shinrikyo Doomsday Cult. Asahara, a charismatic leader with distinctive facial scarring from infantile glaucoma, and then there's Beyond Netero, who has a X-shaped scar across both of his eyes. Shoko Asahara used media aggressively. His cult operated its own animation studio. Beyond Netero's broadcast crashed servers at 100 million views. Asahara fielded political candidates in order to seize institutional power. Beyond planted his biological children into the Kakin military academy over 3 decades ago. Asahara stockpiled serene nerve gas and biological weapons. Beyond stockpiled 5,000 Chimera ant cocoons, and he placed post-mortem curses on his own children. The point here is that Togashi has clearly studied Asahara and has drawn parallels from him for the character of Beyond Netero. Moving on to the Black Whale ship, 200,000 people boarded the Black Whale. Lottery selected civilians at 1 in 1,300 odds. They crammed them into the lower tiers alongside mafia families, Nen users, serial killers, and 14 royals trying to murder each other. The succession contest mechanics are modeled on worm toxin, Koroku, a ritual where venomous creatures are selected in a container and forced to devour one another until a single hyper-concentrated survivor absorbs everything. King Nasubi states openly that the first king of Kakin created the Scene Urn ceremony inspired by this concept. Each prince offers blood to the urn and receives a guardian spirit beast, a Nen construct originating from the deceased first king of the Kakin Empire. These spirit beasts reflect their user's conviction, which means a prince with weak resolve produces a functionally useless protector, while someone like Sridnik births something nightmarish. The burial chamber on Tier 1 has 14 caskets surrounding a central capsule. Lights activate as caskets fill. The floor and wall inscriptions bear a striking resemblance to the starting point inscriptions from Greed Island. Remember, Gin built Greed Island. He is a ruins hunter specializing in humanity's ancient origins. The most compelling fan theory is that Gin may have reverse engineered Dark Continent Nen architecture from his personal research and miniaturized it into the Greed Island game. If this is the case, then the Black Whale's burial chamber operates on the same foundational technology, just scaled up from a game to a floating nation. The parallels between Greed Island and the Dark Continent run deep. Both require means, permission, qualification, and a contract to enter. Both contain magical creatures requiring lateral thinking to survive. Both reward unique discoveries, as Gin built a survival course for the expedition that he always assumed Gon would eventually join. And Gin engineered 2 specific exit cards for Gon: Magnetic Force and Accompany. Think about the 200,000 civilians who aren't passengers, they're instead substrate. The same way worm toxin concentrates venom through mutual destruction, the succession contest concentrates aura via mutual death. Every dead prince, civilian, mafia conflicts, and Nen battle happening across all 5 tiers, it all feeds the burial chamber's inscription circuit. The final surviving prince doesn't just inherit a throne, they emerge as the most powerful Nen-saturated human being alive, carrying the condensed aura of 200,000 souls. Nasubi doesn't need the Dark Continent, he needs the journey in order to function as the ritual. Morina Prudo acts as the catalyst that prevents the contest from resolving cleanly. She's Nasubi's illegitimate daughter and boss of the Hellbell family, but Marina, who is currently operating on the Black Whale, isn't even the original. She is a faker who killed and replaced the real Marina. Her contagion ability lets her subordinates level up by killing. With civilian kills worth 1 point and prince kills worth 50, she wants everyone on the planet dead. Whether Nasubi intentionally placed her on the ship as a chaos engine, or she inserted herself out of pure spite towards the father who discarded her, the result is the same. Benjamin declares martial law, Hockenberg's body dies from Balsamico's TSK-17 biological weapon, but Hockenberg himself swapped minds with Balsamico beforehand using his Nen ability, so he continues operating inside the assassin's body in order to manipulate Benjamin from the inside. Boxen gets manipulated into Hellbell's orbit through Marina's specialist ability. Within chapter 410 of Hunter x Hunter, it left the Black Whale ship in a state of crisis. Benjamin seizing all 3 branches of government by military force, Zhang Li fleeing to the lower tiers, Krollo hunting for Kakin's 3 sacred treasures on Tier 1, and Hisoka stalking from Tier 1 as a VIP while the Phantom Troop scrambles, disguised as him to flush him out. The Black Whale 1 is literally a pressure cooker that's on the brink of collapse. Within chapter 338, we learn that the ancestors of the human race migrated from the Dark Continent to the known world. Lake Mobius was never humanity's original home. Humans escaped from something and crossed into the relative safety of the lake's island cluster, and they tried to forget where they came from. The Dark Continent map shows additional ruins like huts, colosseum structures, settlement patterns. This is proof that humanity existed there for centuries. Pap keeps humans as livestock, which only makes evolutionary sense if humans were once abundant in Pap's environment. There is an ecosystem where humans were prey and not visitors. The Dark Continent's influence on the known world extends beyond the 5 named calamities. There's also the possibility that all magical beasts in the human realm originally came from beyond Lake Mobius. This includes fox bears, man-faced ape, as well as the Kiriko shapeshifter from the Hunter exam. They could all be descendants originating from the Dark Continent. Even the Zoldyck family's inhuman physical traits like poison immunity, retractable incredible claws, superhuman reflex speed, there could be legacy genetics from Zig's voyage or from even earlier contact with Dark Continent biology. So if you bring all of this together, we learn that humanity left the Dark Continent and tried to forget it existed. Every time someone crosses back over there, officially or not, the debt compounds. I hitchhiked home in Zig Zoldyck and manifested in Aluka. If the Kura Hellbell theory holds true, then the scarlet eyes are inherited biology from ancestors who lived alongside the twin snake centuries ago. Gon replicated Pap's contract through raw Nen fury, Beyond who also walked into Zobae's territory and emerged as either its carrier or its shadow. Brion is still out there guarding a dead city, and Hellbell and Pap remain unaccounted for. If you look at the current state of play, Kurapika is on the Black Whale, burning through his lifespan with Emperor Time, as he is navigating a fragile alliance with Zhang Li's coin-producing guardian spirit beast while trying to keep Wobble alive. He's surrounded by cursed sacrifices planted by Beyond, in a ship functioning as a giant worm toxin ritual that's been orchestrated by Nasubi, while Longi, Beyond's own daughter, has revealed the scope of the conspiracy directly to Kurapika's face and offered him a power-up in exchange for his cooperation. Kurapika now knows about Beyond's 30-year infiltration and the cursed sacrifices. He's one of the only people on the ship with even a partial picture of what's actually happening. Hisoka hunts the Phantom Troop across the tiers, Marina's contagion spreads through the lower decks, with her leveling system turning random civilians into Nen-capable killers. Benjamin consolidates military control under martial law, and by his own internal estimate, he has roughly 9.5 hours before symptoms of the biological agent appear, after which he will have 10 hours until coma and 2 more until death. Kaiser, watching Benjamin sweat through the meeting at the Justice Bureau, separately concludes that he has 24 hours at most. Pariston's mole Seiyu waits for his moment, while every other faction thinks that they are playing their own game. The thread that links all of this is the friendship between Gon and Killua. Gon replicated Pap's Life or Pleasure contract, and Nanika carries the Eye Calamity. Both Gon and Nanika embraced each other after the election arc. This hug was the first peace treaty between calamities, you could say. The Zoldyck and Freak's bloodline, who you could assume are cursed bloodlines, they found each other and formed a bond stronger than what they were carrying. Killua's love for Nanika and Ai became the mechanism that healed Gon's self-destruction. The Dark Continent's punishments that were designed to break humanity were neutralized by genuine connection between two kids who had no idea what was living inside of them. Now, if Togashi follows this threadline to its conclusion, then the Dark Continent arc won't end with humanity conquering a new frontier. It'll instead end with humanity confronting what it ran away from and discovering that the people most qualified to survive are the ones who've already been living with calamities their entire lives. Before Hunter x Hunter returns, there are a ton of questions that people have been wondering about. Which prince is Beyond's biological son? What if it is Wobble? Kurapika is her bodyguard. If Beyond's endgame prince is the infant Kurapika swore to protect, then he's been unknowingly serving Beyond's agenda from the moment that he stepped onto the Black Whale. Saradnik, on the other hand, if he's Beyond's son, he's already a tyrant and would give Beyond the biggest immediate payoff. Will the Black Whale even reach the Dark Continent, or is the succession war going to consume everybody on board? The worm toxin theory suggests that the journey is the ritual itself, meaning the ship may never need to land for the contest to fulfill its purpose. What is the actual Nen ability of Beyond? After 70 plus chapters, we still haven't seen him fight. He's just sat calmly within a cell. Will Killua and Aluka eventually travel to the Dark Continent to return Nanika to Ai? Will the Phantom Troop survive past Hisoka's hunt? Shalnak and Kotopi are already dead. They were killed before the voyage even began. Hisoka secretly boarded on Tier 1 through a prince's invitation. The troop is so desperate to find him that Bonolinov is disguising himself as Hisoka to bait the Mafia into flushing the real one out. Chrollo is distracted by the 3 sacred treasures instead of consolidating his forces. What about Don Freaks? Is he still walking the Dark Continent 3 centuries later? Then there's the question that everybody is wondering, is Gon going to return to the story? Togashi has confirmed that he has 4 possible endings. Option A is 80% positive, option B is 50-50, option C, which is his favorite, is 90% negative, option D is the contingency. The contingency is a time skip where Gon's granddaughter Jin catches the Lake Lord on Whale Island and refuses the hunter life. You have to also remember there's the magnetic force and company cards from Greed Island, which would easily allow Gon to re-enter the story, especially if he has found himself and he has reawakened his Nen powers. Togashi's favorite ending for Hunter x Hunter is the one that is 90% negative, option C. So it could be unlikely that Gon will return to the story, but again, we're gonna have to wait and see. As of making this video, Hunter x Hunter is promising to be returning after a 16-month hiatus. On the 8th of April, Togashi posted on X that chapter 430 has had its character inking complete. He's told fans to please wait for announcements from the Jump editorial department regarding the timeline for the remaining chapters to be released. It's clear that Togashi works on his own schedule as he doesn't want to be under pressure for a specific release for Hunter x Hunter. Chapter 410 was the last one released in December of 2024. It seems like within the span of 16 months, Togashi has created up to 20 new chapters for us. Hunter x Hunter announcements are very abrupt and can come from out of nowhere, so it could be any day now that we get new chapters released. But for now, I'd love to know all of your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your favorite Hunter x Hunter Dark Continent theories. Lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.